Welcome back to the episode of Unranked Podcast. Just me today. I'm your boy Grant. So what I'm going to do is kind of just get football season kicked off here. It's right around the corner. Today's August 7th. We're literally 24 hours, just under 24 hours out from the Lions' first preseason game. We're just a few weeks away from Michigan's first regular season game to start off the college football season. So I'm actually going to get started with them and just kind of talk a little bit about the depth chart, just what I kind of see or how I feel about us going into the season, how I think we'll perform, and all that good stuff. So go ahead and jump right in. So really, when it comes to Michigan this year, um, the comparison I kind of have for how I think this team is going to look and it's going to be, there's actually a couple of different comparisons. So one being the 2023 Bama team that Michigan actually beat in the Rose Bowl last year, and another one being Iowa. So I'll just kind of dive into both of them here, just kind of give my reasoning behind the two. And really, when it comes to the comparison to the 2023 Bama team, I feel like, Nick Saban is always going to have an elite defense. And even though Michigan did lose a lot of people last year, really a lot of it being on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of people are forgetting that some of their most talented players are returning, being Will Johnson, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham on defense alone. Um, Derek Moore, you can throw Josiah Stewart in there as well, Ernest Hausman. But those first four I rattled off, those guys are probably going to be um, first rounders, maybe even top 10, especially Will Johnson, Mason Graham, or Kenneth Grant. So I think people are going to be a little surprised this year, just as far as how elite that defense is still going to be. So I just feel like if we're able to kind of keep things together from a defensive standpoint, while the offense kind of figures itself out, I think we'll be in a good spot from that standpoint. And also, kind of talk a little bit about my Iowa comparison. So we all know Iowa to be kind of the laughing stock from an offensive standpoint the last few years, to where there's been some games their defense has outscored their offense. And but I say more of an elite Iowa because I do feel like we have a little bit more continuity on offense than they have had the last few years. I think that we're going to be leaning on the run once again, like we have in the past. It's still going to be Michigan football, just smash mouth in the trenches, controlling the line of scrimmage from that standpoint. Obviously, I'm expecting a little bit of regression when it comes to our offensive line, but we do have a lot of guys on that offensive line that played last year. I'm just going to go down the line right now. We got Miles Hinton, who was a transfer as a senior this year. We got Josh Prevey, who's a transfer from Northwestern. Greg Crippen is a redshirt junior. Giovanni El Hadi, who's a redshirt junior, and Andrew Gentry, who's a redshirt sophomore. So we had a lot of guys that may not have played a lot, but they've been waiting, for their opportunity. They've seen the Zach Zenters and some of the other guys of the past and how they've played and how they were able to produce the last few years. So I think they've really just been chopping at the bit for their turn. And just to kind of touch on the offense a little bit more, we got guys once again just at skill positions that have really been waiting their turn. We got also have Colson Loveland, who, in my opinion, may also be a first round pick, probably like mid to late first round. You've heard the comparisons to, Travis Kelce. This is, I've heard a lot about how he doesn't run routes like a tight end. He runs routes more like a receiver. So definitely expecting him to take that next step this year. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being 1,000-yard receiver, just based on his production last year, and I think he's going to be even better this year. And get over to the receivers. Fred Moore, haven't heard a whole lot about him, but he had a pretty strong spring game. Been hearing some good things here and there, just some rumblings about how he's going to be stepping up and playing a lot this year. We got Tyler Morris, who didn't really play a ton last year, but he definitely saw some action. Actually scored like the 55-yard touchdown on the drag route or the crossing route, whatever you want to call it, against Bama in the Rose Bowl. I expect him to take a step forward. We obviously got Samaj Moore, who had 4 or 5 touchdowns himself last year, some through the air, some running. I expect him to, take a step and just step up to the plate, really, and just fill in to where a lot of the production that we lost last year with Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson. Um, then finally, we get to, well, I won't say finally, but we're going to transition over to the running backs. Got a whole stable of them. Donovan Edwards still there. Khalil Mulling still there. We got the freshman Benjamin Hall. I'm expecting him to maybe not get a ton of action, but I do think he'll get worked in to the rotation here and there as we get deeper into the season. I feel like we're set at pretty much set to an extent, pretty much every position on offense. But when we get down to the quarterback, that's another conversation. Right now, they've in camp, they've been kind of having a open competition, so to speak. But all signs have been pointing to really Alex Orji performing the best right now and most likely being the guy. Now, where I come from when it comes to the quarterback position, um, I understand everybody wants the Ferrari, the sexy pick. I know Alex Orji, 6'3", 240, maybe probably runs like a 4'4", 4'5", 40-inch vert. I mean, he has all the athletic tools. We've seen them use him in different packages last year. We saw them use him against Michigan State and just run QB power down their throat to score that final touchdown before the clock hit 0 in the fourth quarter. But what's going to be most important this year is we need him to work with that completion percentage. In high school, he was in the high 40s, low 50s. Definitely got to find a way to get him 60, 65%, 68%. 68% might be asking a little much, but I'll be honest, I'll be curious to see how they tailor this offense to his skill set, especially knowing that he's getting consistent. He's making better throws. You heard I saw a video today where Tyler Morris was talking about how he's been taking the steps and he's made some amazing throws in camp, made some strides in spring ball, but it's going to be important for him to keep us on schedule. And when I say on schedule, I'd say keep us out of second and long, third and long. I hope they're able to find a way for him to be able to complete short passes, just call plays that are really tailored to where he's comfortable and able to be efficient to where he's keeping us on the schedule. And then when it gets to that point where he's able to keep us on the schedule, we all know that he's also dangerous with his legs. So I definitely see us having a higher ceiling with him at quarterback as long as he can keep us on the schedule. Because I also just want to talk a little bit about Jack Tuttle. I know not everybody, crazy about him returning. It's kind of something that went a little under the radar. But I personally feel like, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't say I necessarily want to see him this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up seeing him this season because, he hasn't played a ton either, but he's played 7 years of college. I mean, he sat behind JJ McCarthy, he sat behind Michael Penix, he sat behind some elite quarterbacks. They say he's like another coach on the field. A little bit of a consistent, better throw of the football. He's got a little bit of wheels too. So I know your game, Jack. So I know a lot of people are, wanting Orgy, and that is, I'm on board with Orgy as well. But at the end of the day, for me personally, I just want whoever's the best fit for this offense and who can keep us on schedule, so that we're not turning the ball over and putting our defense in bad or tough spots to the point to where they're on the field too much and giving up points and really just kind of putting them in bad situations. So overall, I feel like the defense, I still feel like they're going to be a top 5, top 10 defense. We're probably going to be in a lot of games like 21-10, 24-13, 27-10. Obviously, the schedule's going to be a little bit harder this year, but I do feel confident that we're still going to have one of the best defenses in the country overall. And what it's really going to come down to is Alex Orgy. or Jack Tuttle, whoever they decide to throw out there at quarterback first, just staying within themselves, keeping us on schedule, not turning the football over, and really just helping the defense and keeping them fresh and keeping them in prime position to get us the football back. So that's really my take overall when it comes to Michigan football. So I'm going to go ahead and transition over to our Detroit Lions. So right now, August 7th, they've been doing a lot of joint practice with the New York Giants. A lot of the stuff I've been seeing on Twitter, it sounds like I won't say we're necessarily been dominating them, but it does sound like a lot of guys are just making a lot of plays. I've seen a lot of one-on-ones with our O line against some of their elite pass rushers, and obviously we're not seeing everything, so I'm not gonna sit here and overreact to 2 or 3 clips that I've been seeing, but I know that we have a top 3 offensive line in the league, if not the best offensive line in the league. It's shown that we've been able to pretty much get what we've wanted to an extent against them. It's been great hearing and seeing a lot of Jameson Williams and just he's been making some plays. He's got the confidence going. I mean, this is really going to be his first year. He's going to his 3rd year, his first year of having OTAs healthy, training camp, no suspensions looming or anything along those lines, to where he's really starting to come into his own and just really looking to turn into that wide receiver 2 for the Detroit Lions. Want to also, talk about just really a couple of the Achilles heels of the Lions last year, and they've made some vast improvements. Obviously, we chatted about quite a bit of this earlier this year, but the secondary, we unfortunately, I'll start there. Unfortunately, lost Emmanuel Mosley to a torn pec. Timing wise, it's not terrible. I mean, if he's able to rehab and get back up to full strength, we haven't even played our first preseason game yet. We're still about, I'd say, about 6 weeks out. He might be available 6, 7 games into the season. That'd just be another great depth piece. A guy that honestly, no offense to him, just kind of gets forgotten. I mean, he came here off the torn ACL, got back healthy, played 4 or 5 plays against the Panthers last season, tore ACL again, was back healthy, but ended up tearing his pec muscle, unfortunately, in training camp or joint practice against the Giants. So speedy recovery to him. But I do feel like we have the depth and the playmakers on the back end this year to where we did not last year with Carlton Davis at the left corner. Got Terrion Arnold, obviously our first round draft pick. I mean, all signs are trending towards him most likely being the guy on that side. Moving Brian Branch to strong safety, and we've got nickelback kind of competition here. I'd say from what I've been hearing between Amik Robinson and Ennis Rakestraw. Even though I'm seeing a couple of depth charts having Rakestraw maybe second on the depth chart for the left cornerback position. But between those two, obviously bringing back Kirby Joseph, we'll have Ife Melifonwu. We have a lot of guys. I'll bring back even Kendall Vildor. Shout out to him. Did what he could last year. Obviously he'd be a lot more comfortable in the system. But no offense to him, don't want to see him playing as much as he did last year, especially with some of the talent that we were able to bring in the secondary. And then also wanted to touch on another Achilles heel with the Lions, and that's being not so much the D line, but the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. I think everybody wanted them to try to get Max Crosby. We're kind of irritated about them not getting Chase Young, but I'm glad we didn't get Chase Young, especially for how bad he played. I mean, even against us, even though he lost that game in the NFC Championship, but he just really wasn't himself. And I don't think he was as productive as the Niners thought he would be for them. But it looks like we're going to still kind of be doing the by committee deal when it comes to this. We got Marcus Davenport, as of right now, they're showing him as a starter. This is a guy that knows Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn pretty well from his time. He was there with them with the Saints. He was actually with the Vikings, I believe, the last couple of seasons. But it sounds like he's healthy. He's trending in the right direction. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on him and just kind of see how he does as training camp goes along in preseason, starts to ramp up here. But between him, James Houston, Josh Pascal, um, Matthias, Matthew Betts, that's somebody that um, you haven't really heard much about him. He was just kind of a small, quiet signing late and towards the end of the season last year from the Canadian League. I believe he broke a record for sacks, anywhere from like 18 and a half to like 19 sacks in a season or something like that. So it sounds like it's still going to be a by committee by committee on the right side, on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. And I personally hope that James Houston, hopefully he's coming in back in shape this year. Hopefully he can stay healthy because I do feel like he can be that guy on that side. Maybe not. I know he was big on like third downs when he was first kind of came onto the scene a couple years back, but hopefully he's taking some steps to potentially emerge as that guy to be able to play three downs on the opposite side of Hutch. Want to just touch on as well, just real quick, the linebacking core, because I feel like that was kind of a part of the team that was a little iffy here and there. I mean, Alex Anzalone, he did his thing, 120, 130 plus tackles. Derek Barnes took major steps last year. I expect him to, take another step this year. And I think a lot of the Lions fans agree with me. Jack Campbell, um, another first round pick. It's kind of gonna be a proven year for him, in my opinion. I know he played decent last year, but hopefully, I've heard that he's changed his body. He understands the playbook a lot more, and he's just taking some steps in the right direction to play even better than he did last year. I know I've heard him talk a couple of different times about how he didn't have the greatest game in that 40 against the 49ers in the NFC Championship, and I hope he's used that as fuel to motivate him to come back even stronger this year. So my personal opinion is I mean, last year we were able to go toe to toe with a lot of tough teams. Obviously, the schedule is going to be a little difficult this year. We'll dive into score or win prediction, things on those lines once we get E back onto the pod. But I personally feel like if this defense, I mean, they were last in pass defense last year. If they're able to get 1 to 2 more stops a game this year opposed to last year, even with the offense, I don't think they will. But even if they do end up taking a step back for whatever reason, that they're a top five offense, if I'm not mistaken, top six offense last year, even if they're a 10th, maybe go to like top 10 or top 12. And if this defense can just maybe hover around top 12 to top 15, I think we'll be positioned very well to win the NFC North again and potentially, run the table, maybe even go after that 1 seed and, lock up home field advantage for the duration of the playoffs until the Super Bowl. But from there, just want to kind of touch on preseason game tomorrow. We're going to be playing the Giants. I know this is what I'm very excited about, and everybody's been really excited about is Hendon Hooker reps. I heard Campbell say it's highly doubtful that at golf will suit up for the Lions tomorrow. I highly doubt a lot of guys, a lot of the ones are going to play tomorrow, but I'm really looking forward to Hendon Hooker getting some run. Right now, he's showing up as second or third in the depth chart behind Nate Sudfeld. We'll see how that looks, how it turns out. This is just ESPN. They don't really know what they're talking about half the time, so who knows? But looking forward to seeing what Hendon Hooker could potentially do with some reps. I know that's somebody that everybody's just really been eager and to see and see what he can do. He's obviously coming off of a torn ACL last year, so wasn't able to do much of anything. But looking forward to that, and just really looking forward to football season being back around the corner. Not only we have the game tomorrow, but a lot of teams around the league are going to be kicking off between tomorrow and Saturday. It does obviously tend to be a little bit of ugly football just based on who's playing their starters, who's not playing their starters. But either way, you can even feel it in the weather. We're having mid 70s for the last, or we'll have in the 70s from weather standpoint next couple of weeks. It already kind of feels like fall. So I'm just really, really looking forward to this season. I do think this is a year for our Lions. I'm going to say with confidence, I do feel like we will be in the Super Bowl. We'll see if that comes back to bite me or not. But where I'm at now, as of August 7th, I feel like we're sitting pretty with both of our beloved football teams, Detroit Lions and the Michigan Wolverines. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they're going to be able to show up against the competition this upcoming season. With that being said, we'll be back with y'all next week to just kind of start running through some of the different things around the Lions and Michigan as we get closer to toe hitting leather here in the next 4 to 6 weeks. But until next time, I'll chat with you guys soon. Peace.